Good morning. Hi. Good morning. I'm Sarah Mayab, and I am happy to serve this congregation as a member of your Board of Trustees. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. Thank you for joining us both in person and online. Please scan the QR code on the screen to let us know that you are here, to get a digital version of our order of service, and to find the donation page. If you are a first-time visitor, we have a gift for you at the greeters table out in, one of our cherished volunteers will be available in Slaughter Lounge to share our getting to know you information for anyone who would like to learn more about who we are and what we believe here at First UU. We have a few announcements this morning. Please consider taking the First UU proposed 8th principle survey. This survey will help our Justice Minister, Amanda Hayes, and the Anti-Racist Allies team better understand the stance of our congregation toward adopting the proposed 8th principle. And remember that this Tuesday is Election Day. Abortion rights are on the ballot, along with many other local issues and offices. Today is the last day of early voting. If you have an absentee ballot, remember to return it. And if you have any questions, come to the jam table in Beach Hall after service. I would now like to invite our members of Peace Pals. Where are they? Oh, they're already ready to go. They're gonna come up and meet their director, Aaron Rothert, who is also up there for a special musical treat.
Thank you, guys. You might be able to tell that they wrote those words. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Terasa Cooley. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as your developmental minister. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. We begin this service by acknowledging that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Adena, Hopewell, Wyandotte, Miami, Seneca, Erie, and Cayuga people. We cultivate this awareness that concrete acts of solidarity, healing, and reparation accompany our symbolic acknowledgments. And during the offering today, you'll have an opportunity to truly support this cause. Our opening words come from Monica Jacobson Tennyson. What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change, to ask that question, to take that journey? It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come, let us worship together. And now let us all rise in body and spirit while our children meet in the back to prepare to bring in the light. Please turn to your neighbors and introduce yourselves.
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning. It is now time for the children to bring in the light. Good to see you all up here this morning. Today's chalice lighting comes from Michelle Collins. As we light this chalice, with its freely shared light and freely shared warmth, let us be reminded of the many things that are freely shared with us and that we freely share with others. May we lean into generosity shared from the heart that can warm those around us.
Well, now it looks like I'm about to tell you a knock knock joke. Thank you, Jack, for your help lighting our chalice this morning. Good morning. I'm Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration, and my pronouns are she, they. Today's story is called We Are Starlings, written by Robert Furrow and Donna Jo Napoli, and illustrated by Mark Martin. We are check one. Thousands of us. All right. There are millions of us. We fly, all of us together. We flap our wings, making a murmur even those on the ground can hear. We have become a murmuration of starlings. We find strength and safety in numbers. We find warmth in numbers. We pay attention to the birds nearest to us. We are allies. Our allies each have their own allies, and we all guide each other. Oh no, a peregrine falcon. We must get away. I veer, my allies veer, their allies veer, and we all change course. Different birds fly closer now. We make new allies. We swirl and swirl. The peregrine falcon can't target any one of us. Goodbye, falcon. The falcon flies off, defeated, and we fly on in peace. Now we're ready for fun. We twist through the sky like giant snakes or fan out like humongous wings. We loop back over ourselves in figure eights. We dance and dance and dance, and then we land all at once. That's our way, a sudden plop to earth, the starling way. We feed and roost. We relax in the warmth of so many hearts beating together. We are starlings. The end. Starlings work together to fly in formation just as we must communicate and collaborate in order to be in covenant and thrive together as a community. Please remain seated and show me some sparkle fingers at the level of your heart as we sing our young people back to their families and out to class.
As I mentioned during our land acknowledgement, you now have an opportunity to make your support of the Indian nations manifest through our offering. In the month of November, we're sharing half the revenue from our offering with our Share the Plate partners, Native American Indian Center of Central Ohio. And this video gives you more information about the organization.
Land acknowledgements have become important statements used to recognize the fact that there were, and still are, numerous indigenous stewards across this land our Iroquois relatives call Turtle Island. Here in the Ohio Valley area, we know that the Great Shawnee Nation, the Delaware, the Wyandot, the Miami, the Haudenosaunee, and many other tribes once called this part of the country home prior to being forcibly removed. But rather than have these words serve as a blanket statement during a time when cultural sensitivity has come to the forefront more so than it ever has before, how about we put some real action behind these words to do something that really helps make up for the past? For us here at the Native American Indian Center of Central Ohio, or NACO, we are doing just that. We have chosen to take a bold step forward, one that intentionally puts action behind such words.
I believe that it's very important to return our Native American Indian people to the land. Our Indian people have always known that Mother Nature is a very powerful being next to our Creator. Nature is the foundation from which all life derives. NACO has this one opportunity to teach and protect our natural resources, tribal protocols, sovereignty, ceremonies, and healing ways that have always been in place all over Indian country but not successfully preserved or practiced in urban settings.
Rather than just speaking to it, we are pursuing a tangible goal, a vision, a dream, one that entails us attaining our own piece of land here in Ohio that we, as Native people, can connect with and call home. This campaign is formally known as Land Back NACO. Our goal as NACO is to acquire a minimum of 20 acres, thus to not only have a space in Ohio to call ours, but more so to have a place where we can preserve and restore our cultural ways and build and strengthen our Native community.
We as Native American people were raised to respect and honor the sacredness of nature from the time of birth and goes back for many generations. It has everything we need to survive: medicines, food, air, and water. It provides all the essential elements to hunt, fish, gather our foods. These things we are losing as a people, but trying to bring back and preserve our most precious commodity where it is lacking and at a time when it matters most. Please join us in NACO's efforts to return the Native American people to a land that is not relegated by others, but cared for by its rightful stewards of Ohio.
To join and follow our Land Back NACO campaign and journey, visit our social media sites and agency website.
You can also support us by visiting NACO Cuisine, our newly launched Native American street food trailer here in Central Ohio.
I just read this morning that the state of Maine has actually done exactly that, except not just a few acres, thousands of acres, as a way of helping the entire state learn the conservation methods that the Native Americans have given us. So please be generous in your support. Please use the QR code on the order of service, text the number on the screen, or go to our website, firstucolumbus.org, and click the Donate tab to share as you feel called. Your gifts help to build a better church and a better world. Our offering will now be gratefully received. We have some joys and some concerns to share this morning. Happy birthday to Paul LaRue. Paul will celebrate his 86th birthday on Wednesday, November 8th. And our member Bob Letcher was hospitalized recently after several falls. He is now back at Mayfair Village recovering. And I know that many of us share the deep desire for peace in the Middle East, and I ask your prayers, at least for a cessation of the violence, for humanitarian needs, for the lives that need to be saved. Let us hold these and other joys and sorrows, spoken or unspoken, in quiet contemplation. The worship committee and I are excited to start to roll out a new worship associates program in which folks will be trained in worship arts and assist in leading services. I'll be putting out an application for this soon if you're interested in joining us, but in the meantime, we have a new person among us who is already skilled and trained in worship arts. Welcome to Minister Shannon High. She will now lead us in prayer.
I almost said the good morning before I got to the microphone. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see your beautiful faces this morning. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am honored. So we can go ahead and begin with prayer, okay? Whew, thank you. Thank you, divine spirits, for this beautiful day. Thank you for sitting with us as we navigate humanity and contemplate the collective consciousness from which true community blossoms. Hear us when we say we seek to touch the hearts of others and to immerse ourselves in the world around us. It has been suggested to us by a variety of sacred texts to love others as we would choose to be loved. However, we know that loving ourselves is sometimes difficult. How can we possibly consider caring for the collective when our individual spirits have been neglected? How do we reach out with weary arms laden with the burdens of this world to embrace our neighbors, our friends, and our families? For this journey, we ask that you guide us toward breaking down walls that may hinder radical connection. Create in our minds a new picture of community. Lay on our hearts the words to speak, to invite others in. Embrace us, spirits, in a way that teaches us what belonging feels like, so that we may do the same in ways that disrupt chaos, so that we may be animated as a whole to bring peace to this world. Again, on this day, we say thank you. May peace and blessings abound with each person in this room. Let it be so. So when I learned about the theme, oh, I'm learning, and I'm Well, it's like deja vu. I'm back. Thank you for your grace this morning. I'm learning. The topic for today, the theme for today's sermon, inspired me or reminded me about the African concept of Ubuntu. Okay? And so Ubuntu, it's a South African philosophy that's translated in Zulu to mean, I am because we are. So I am here today because you are where you are in your journey. So there is a poem that I would like to share with you this morning that I believe reflects this Ubuntu consciousness, using the metaphor of a kaleidoscope. The poem is titled Kaleidoscope, and it's written by a poet, Abigail Morse. I am a kaleidoscope. I look at you and I see blue. so I become blue too. Your shade of green is different than mine, but maybe I'll learn to like it. Like a chameleon who can't decide how best it hides from view, I am changing. I love home, but home is never in my grasp. I taste the comfort of place, a house with a fence, smiling friends, brilliant laughter, and as I walk away, the sweetness leaves a bitter taste. Like the changing colors in my view, I morph and roll and someday might emerge. I am the thunder you expected but never heard. Like the colors of a storm are soft and dark, so am I. Like the white glare of a mirror in the sun, I can shine, but not myself. I'm a patterned work of glass and beads and lenses. Every goodbye forms new cracks among my colors, ones I never want to be there, but as I look, they become beautiful. To some, I am useless, confused, incomplete. Every fracture, every one last hug, every see you later, knowing that later will never come, comes close to shattering what's left. It comes close. And then I see new colors. When I look into the light, the brightest gleam becomes a conversation, a joke, a laugh, a friend. Our colors meet at the speed of light, and they fill the fractures in the glass which someone left behind. We twist the rim of our jeweled spectacles until face to face we match. Not everywhere. We are different after all. Oranges and reds and purples are placed in ways that we don't understand, but we appreciate. You're not asking me to be the same, and I won't ask you. But as we look away, I won't forget my changing colors were because of you.
Let us remain seated while we join in singing our meditative hymn, number 318, We Would Be One.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which bends our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Many years ago, I did my ministerial internship in Duxbury, Massachusetts, the first parish in Duxbury. This congregation has a long and noble lineage. It was the second settled congregation by the Pilgrims who landed at Plymouth Rock, just across the bay from Duxbury. And whatever we may think about the colonization of America, and I have plenty of opinions about that, I was in awe when I thought of how that congregation had continued for 4 centuries. They had box pews and a pulpit that soared 15 feet above the congregation. There were plaques on either side of the pulpit that had the most random biblical verses I've ever seen. And for someone who came from a humanist congregation founded in the 1950s in Houston, I didn't quite know what to make of this bastion of traditionalism. Every Sunday, they recited what is known as the Ames Covenant, written sometime in the 1880s by Charles Gordon Ames for the Unitarian Society in Philadelphia, which he founded. And it reads, "In the love of truth and in the spirit of Jesus Christ, we unite for the worship of God and the service of man." You might imagine that some of those words stuck a little bit in my throat. I don't mind mentioning Jesus as a role model, but we don't often talk about Jesus as the Christ. And I was beginning to think that God wasn't such a bad word, but was worshiping God my purpose? And of course, the service of man. Need I say more? It must be said that there was probably not a single person in that congregation that still agreed with that covenant that we read each Sunday. But good New Englanders that they were reluctant to change a tradition of such long standing. And then there's the question of what could replace it. Shouldn't we be able to say why we gather? Who gets to write those words? My supervisor, Robbie Walsh, was a very deliberate man. He started a process in which we looked at covenants through many UU churches and studied what covenant meant in Unitarian Universalist history. And I have to say, I was a bit frustrated at the slowness of this process. And then Robbie went away on sabbatical for 6 months, leaving me in charge. So I quickly set about putting a committee together that brainstormed many different words and phrases and came up with something I thought was quite satisfactory. Job done. When Robbie returned from sabbatical, to say he was disappointed in me for pushing this through was an understatement. At first I thought this was just because he didn't like something that he didn't have a hand in creating. But then he explained, "Teresa, a covenant isn't just a few fine phrases strung together. It represents a sacred agreement, something that the whole congregation needs to wrestle with and come to understand as a promise that they make, not just a pretty phrase that they repeat each Sunday. One small committee can't do that." I began to get it. We often say that Unitarian Universalism is a covenantal religion rather than a creedal one. What we mean by that is that we don't organize ourselves around one common theological belief. People can have many different theological perspectives and still come together in community. But what holds us together is what we promise to do and to be together. That's why we have principles rather than belief statements. It's a hard shift to understand if you're used to creedal churches. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, "What do you use believe about Jesus? What do you use believe happens when you die? What do you use believe about God?" And the best answer I can ever come up with is, it depends. It depends on which Unitarian Universalist you're asking. And by the way, if I knew what happens to us after we die, I would be out on the lecture circuit making a lot more money. One concept that goes very far back in our history is that we consider ourselves to be a priesthood of all believers. In other words, we don't need a priest to interpret things for us. We all have the ability to come to our own understandings ourselves. And so that means my job is not to tell you what to believe. Sometimes I wish that were not the case. This way we have of de-emphasizing belief has led to the unfortunate misconception that Unitarian Universalists can believe anything we want, or that we define ourselves by what we don't believe. It's been helpful to me to be introduced to the process theologian Henry Nelson Wyman, who talks about the difference between belief and faith. Beliefs are those explanations about how life works that grow and evolve over time and that can change as new evidence and new experiences make us view things differently. But faith is something different. Faith is an orientation of the Spirit, that essential need to affirm the creative good in the universe, a commitment to a humble recognition that our beliefs are inevitably partial, but that they help lead us toward the best within the reach of our human experience. Wyman put it this way: I am committed to what I believe can bring human life to the best it can attain. I'm not committed to my belief. My belief is merely the means by which I give my life's devotion to what transforms life toward the greatest good. Which takes us back to the concept of covenant. For how can we have faith in the good in the universe and in humankind without it first manifesting here in our individual communities? Sometimes I do find it hard to hold a faith in all humankind, but if I think about it in a more localized way, do I have faith in this community? The answer is an unequivocal yes. That doesn't mean we are perfect with each other all the time, far from it, but what we do together is a promise to try to bring out the best in ourselves and each other. So how do we do that? We can't automatically know what we need from one another. And so in the last few decades, many churches have tried to articulate their individual covenant. This one included developing a covenant of respectful relations. The covenant for this church begins: we build our church community on a foundation of love with a goal of promoting justice and peace. Toward that end, we covenant to do the following, and then it lists a list of commitments such as: I covenant to speak my truth honestly and directly with care and compassion, and to cherish the well-being of the congregation above my personal preferences. Covenants such as this help us avoid harmful behavior by asking for our promises to listen to and respect one another. But they also do ask us to do something that is even more important and that is easily overlooked. They ask us to show up, each of us to show up for one another. They tell us that this community is not about coming here to sit and receive something. It's about a commitment to a kind of reciprocity that is difficult to find elsewhere in our culture. And yet it's all too easy to stray away from this concept. My colleague Nancy MacDonald Ladd recently wrote this. She said, I think that the maintaining of the institution itself and the comfort of the people within it has become too much of our implicit mission. It can become like a goods and services mechanism of exchange. If the congregation is sufficiently inspirational, then its members and attendees will reward it with financial security. If the programs are what the people want to receive, then they will pay a professional class of religious people to deliver that product. She continues, what I yearn for is a congregational self-understanding that what we do with and for and alongside one another, and that the maintaining of the institution is not as important as the way that institution equips us to live in the world. Basically, I think it's insufficient for clergy like me to see ourselves as the deliverers of a product or products like inspiration, institutional security, or comfort. But even that shift away from a clergy-dominant good and services economy and toward a collective reorientation towards a shared mission that we all live out together, even that requires a real shift of priorities and resources. So let me be clear. She also adds that, this may be hard for somebody like a minister to say because she's exactly the person who benefits most from the way things are because she likes having a salary. And I like having a salary. But I believe that she's getting at something deeper. She's making a claim for really making a congregation a shared enterprise in which we can all feel that we can contribute what we can, as we often say, time, talent, and treasure, to create a collective which contributes to the liberation of us all. To live into a real covenantal understanding of community, we have to rethink our values. My mentor, Gil Rendell, recently preached this: what will make you and me happier? More money or more forgiveness? What will make you and me more secure? More fences, more laws, more military, or more friendships? What will make you and me more loved by others? More boundaries between white and black, between red and blue, between gay and straight, or more invitations to each other? My colleague Gretchen Haley says this: what our faith asks of us, what our faith imagines for us, is that somehow, right at that moment when our hearts break, we will find our way to see through that heartbreak. We will stay put, not close off, not run away, not hurt back, but keep on being in relationship, doing what we can to repair the world and each other. I know that has been a difficult task amidst the conflicts of the last few years here, but here you are still, being willing to stay in relationship together. We will never be perfect at this, but we can be deliberate in the work. In his luminous book, Hearticulations, Jeff Brown wrote, "Love can happen in a split second. Bondedness can't." That's the thing that we learn the hard way, that love is not the end of the story. It's just the first chapter. The next chapters demand that we acknowledge our wounding, clear our emotional debris, strengthen our capacity for attachment, learn how to authentically relate, mature in the deep within. Chapter after chapter of refining our ability to meet love with a true heart. This is the work of a lifetime, our opus of opening. How terrifying and how delightful. This is the work before us as we piece this community together in a strong and vital way. The best natural metaphor for it that I can find is the extraordinary way that starlings fly together, as we heard in the beautiful Time for All Ages. My favorite social guru, Adrienne Marie Brown, wrote about this metaphor in a way that speaks to what I have been trying to articulate. And so I ask us to watch together as I repeat her words. My dream is a movement with such deep trust that we move as a murmuration. The way groups of starlings billow, dive, spin, dance collectively through the air to avoid predators. And it also seems to pass time in the most beautiful way possible. When fish move in this way, they shoal. When bees and other insects move in this way, they're swarming. I love all the words for this activity. Here's how it works. Each creature is tuned in to its neighbors, the creatures right around it in the formation. This might be the birds on either side, or the 6 fish in each direction. There is a right relationship, a right distance between them. Too close and they crash, too far away and they can't feel the micro adaptations of the other bodies. Each creature is shifting direction, speed, proximity based on the information of the other creature's bodies. There is a deep trust in this. To lift because the birds around you are lifting. To live based on your collective real-time adaptations. In this way, thousands of birds or fish or bees can move together, each empowered with basic rules and a vision to live. Imagine our movements cultivating this type of trust and depth with each other, having strategic flocking in our playbooks. Adaptation reduces exhaustion. No one bears the burden alone of figuring out the next move and muscling toward it. There's an efficiency at play. Is something not working? Stop. Change. If something is working, keep doing it. Keep learning and innovating as you go. Again, from Jeff Brown, love can happen in a split second, but bondedness can't. That's the thing that we learn the hard way, that love is not the end of the story. So may we learn to be and to become together. Amen. Please stand as you're willing and are able to sing in our final hymn, number 140, in your gray hymnal, Hail the Glorious Golden City.
Hail the glorious golden city, pictured by the seers of old. Everlasting light shines o'er it, wondrous things of it are told. Wise and righteous men and women dwell within its gleaming wall. Wrong is banished from its borders, justice reigns supreme o'er all. We are builders of that city, all our joys and all our groans. Help to rear its shining ramparts. Our lives are building stones, whether humble or exalted, all are called to task divine. All must aid alike to carry forward one sublime design. And the work that we have builded, oft with bleeding hands and tears, oft in error, oft in anguish, will not perish with our years. It will live and shine, transfigured in the final reign of right. It will pass into the splendors of the city of the light.
If you're willing, take the hand of someone close to you or hold your hands together. Whatever feels more comfortable. Our benediction comes from Kristen Harper. I do not wish to breathe another breath if it is not shared with others. The breath of life is not mine alone. I brought myself to be with you, hoping that by inhaling the compassion, the courage, the hope found here, I can exhale the fear, the selfishness, the separateness that I keep so close to my skin. I cannot live another moment, at least not one of joy, unless you and I find our oneness somewhere among each other, somewhere within the silence of the next breath. Please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love. Amen.
Sounded lovely today. Oh, thank you. That's always what I'm going for.
I don't remember that one line in the last line. Did we do good today, teacher?
Oh, yeah.